Big news in the world of XC and marathon bikes as Trek have released an all-new Top Fuel. The Top Fuel has been redesigned from the ground up, and Trek claim this has resulted in a bike that is more versatile with more balanced geometry. In recent years, the Top Fuel has been known as a pure XC race bike, designed for World Cup racing and little else. That means fairly steep geometry, fairly short travel, and yeah, it's all about the racing. The new Top Fuel is supposed to be more versatile and, dare we say it, more fun. The headline stats are increased travel, with the Top Fuel jumping to 120mm at the front and 115mm at the rear. That's up from the previous 100mm front and rear on the old Top Fuel. You also get slacker geometry, wider handlebars, shorter stems and droppers on every bike. Basically, it's all the trendy things that an XC bike has to have in 2019. The frame is where most of the changes come in. Depending on how you set the bike up, the head tube has been slackened to 67.5 or 68 degrees. The seat tube has been steepened to 75 degrees, and the reach has gone up to 470 to 475.2mm in a size large. These geometry options are down to Trek's MinoLink chip, which is now located on the front of the rocker link. Trek claim this makes it easier to access and easier to change. In the high setting, the reach is increased and the head tube is steepened. In the low setting, you guessed it, the reach is shortened and the head tube is slackened. This means you can change the ride characteristics of the bike depending on if you're racing or just out for some fun with friends. Trek have also added a fixed lower shock mount, which is claimed to improve cable routing and the overall frame stiffness thanks to that beefier design. Finally, the main pivot has been moved further forward, which is claimed to improve pedalling and give more consistent anti-squat performance. Now we're on to the components. Trek wanted to bring the componentry in line with the more versatile Top Fuel. This means you get 2.4 size tyres across all the sizes. That's pretty meaty for an XC rig. The bars have also been made much wider and the stem comes in a max length of 70mm. This stem can also be flipped depending on your riding style. You can have it down for a more kind of XC style riding, or you can flip it up for a higher bar height for more trail style riding. As already mentioned, every model in the range now comes with a dropper post, and I'm going to need my notes for this. On the small, you get a 100mm dropper, you get a 150mm dropper for medium and medium large sizes, and you get a 170mm dropper for large and XL sizes. Now, with all of the marketing material out of the way, what is the new Top Fuel like to ride? That's what we all really want to know about. I went out to Lake Garda in Italy to ride the bike, and as with all launches, my time on the bike was fairly short, around 1.5 hours. So as with many first ride reviews, what I can glean from the bike is fairly limited. The new Top Fuel feels very different to the old one, down to those obvious changes in geometry and spec, things like wider tyres, and you really feel this on the climbs. The top spec Top Fuel 9.9 I was riding has a claim weight of 11.05 kilos, which is pretty light, but is still easily a kilo heavier when you add pedals and a bottle cage than a pure XC race rig. This means while the position climbing on the bike was good, thanks to that steeper seat angle, it's lost some of that real rip and zip that the old pure XC race bike had. This doesn't mean it's a laborious slouch on the climbs, you're still flying up there, it's a very light bike, but if you're all about the racing, if you're all about time between the tapes, crushing those climbs, the Top Fuel may now be too trail oriented for your tastes. But this is a sentiment echoed by Trek's factory racing XC riders, and I doubt you'll be seeing a Top Fuel lining up at a World Cup race anytime soon. The bike pedalled pretty well in the single track, no doubt thanks to that aforementioned moved lower pivot, and there was very little in the way of pedal bob. But as I've already said, my time was very limited, some more long-term testing is needed to kind of get a true idea of its pedalling performance. Again, sounding like a broken record here, my descending time was very limited, but descending on the Top Fuel was really nice. It's a confident descender, wider bars, shorter stem, and a slacker head angle makes things a lot nicer than the previous Top Fuel. So it seems Trek have followed brands like Specialized with their Epic Evo in tweaking their full suspension XC bike to make it more trail friendly. And in that, it seems they have succeeded. As I've already said, if you're a pure racer, this means that the bike might now be too trail oriented for your tastes. But if you're after a bike that you can race one weekend and then have fun with your mates on the trails the next, Top Fuel could be worth a closer look. But what do you guys think? Have Trek nailed it with the new, more trail-friendly Top Fuel, or should they have stuck to a pure XC race rig? As always, let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!